Hey, everybody, and welcome to another busy webinar where I'm excited to have you all here with us today. We've got a very special presentation. It's an Ask the Expert, which are usually among our most popular webinars and our best attended. So thank you all. You're in for a treat. Michelle Hanson has been with us for a very long time and has been a friend and coworker of mine since the 90s, if you can believe that. Neither of us look that old, but I'm super excited to have Michelle here. And as we go forward for all of our attendees, we have a massive amount of folks today with us. So thank you all very much for hanging out with us. For those folks, this is a live Q&A Ask the Experts. So please go ahead and use the Q&A tool. If you have a question that you would like us to answer about marketing strategy, trends, planning, or budgeting, and if Michelle, Trygve, and I will all do our best to answer for you. There are a number of folks that continue to join. So for all of those folks, I'll do one last announcement. You can use the chat to say hello. Please use Q&A if you do have questions. If you're not seeing the possibility for Q&A, let us know in chat, but I think we've got all of that set up correctly. So without further ado, thank you all very much and welcome to Ask the Expert, a busy webinar featuring marketing strategy, trends, planning, and budgeting. I'd like to hand it over to my co-panelists today. And who are we? So Trygve, you're always with us. So give us a little bit about you.
Long-time participant, first-time caller. I'm the Director of New Business Development at BizzyWeb. And I've also been here for a long time, and we've been friends for a long time too. So you could say nice things about me too.
I will, and you have beautiful ears, Trygve.
Thank you. See, was that so hard?
Not that hard. It stunk.
Okay.
So well,
as Dave said, I'm Michelle Hanson. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing here at BizzyWeb, and I have been in the marketing arena for, again, not to age myself, but going on 30 years, and have worked with Dave in various functions throughout the years. And I'm very glad to be here with all of you today.
Thank you. Perfect. And of course, everyone knows, hopefully, about what BizzyWeb is and who we are. But we are a small group of dedicated marketers that love doing marketing geeky things. The website design things, hence the name BizzyWeb, has been with us forever. We also do digital marketing, which Michelle is in charge of, and we do CRM and sales enablement and marketing automation through a tool called HubSpot, where we're a platinum partner and among the top 1% in the world for those things. So super excited to have you all here. And again, if you do have questions during today's event, go ahead and log those in. The earlier, the better. I know we have a bundle of attendees, so would love to hear from all of you if you have one thing that you'd love us to hear or love to hear about from us.
And Dave, a number of participants gave us questions already that were, so if you had shared a question with us in your registration form, chances are good we're going to answer it sometime in the next hour.
Absolutely. Thanks for that reminder, Trygve. Okay, so with all the ado that we needed to get under our belts done, let's get into our content for today. So, Michelle, what do I do? What's the whole deal with all this strategy and marketing and all that? Tell us what's going down.
Well, I think first things first, if we flip to the next slide, I think the real question is not what do I do, but it's what do I want to accomplish?
Aha, yes.
So you need to figure out what you want to accomplish before you figure out the steps to get there.
Perfect.
So, you need to set your business goals. There we go, Dave. Thank you. Yeah. You need to decide what it is. We usually fall into three. There's three major categories that we hear over and over again. I need more brand recognition and awareness. I need to generate more leads. And I need to figure out more about my customers and who is visiting my website. So those are usually the three buckets that your marketing goals will fall into.
And revenue takes a lot of different forms, right? So sometimes and sometimes there's combinations, right? So sometimes companies are launching a new product and they need to do brand recognition and product recognition, but also actually move products, right?
Yes, you are correct. So is it a straight increase in revenue based on what you're currently doing? Are you launching a new product? And want to make a splash in the market and generate some revenue off of that.
Which one's easier?
Neither. They're both work, but what makes it easier is having these goals and your strategies set up beforehand. So the first step, you need to set your strategy.
Got it.
Next slide. Ting. All right. So setting your overall business goals. We like analogies. It's easier to understand sometimes. So if you're in your analogy, you've got 4 people in a car and the goal is to get to Cleveland. So the questions that you have to ask and answer: do you have enough gas? Do you have the right car? Do you have 4 drivers? How much time do you have to make this drive? So Cleveland's the goal, but everyone needs to get there together. And you have these 4 people with different contributions to make.
Got it.
Love the picture, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll get to that. There's a little surprise. So once you've set your overall strategic goal, then you need to get into your marketing goals. So your departmental goals are in the service of those overall business goals. They need to feed into the larger business goal. You need to show how marketing fits into your company's ecosystem. So you'll want to make sure that you have things in place so that you can measure at the end to know what made the campaign successful, how the company benefited, how revenue was influenced, and then of course the big one, revenue attribution. So you need to know where it's coming from so that you can double down on those channels and those clients.
Got it.
I think the car analogy is so great because as you're looking at how to departmentally figure out what to do, it's so indicative that if you're all in a car together and the overall business is trying to get to Cleveland, if one group, there's no one person in the car who gets to Cleveland and then everybody else doesn't. And so somebody might have a really good year in their department, but if nobody else in the car has a similar year, then the car is not in Cleveland. The goal is not set. So I think it's a great analogy, Michelle, of starting with what are we all trying to do together, and then what's everybody's part in it? How long do I have to drive the car?
Right. So those 4 people in the car can be your different departments. They can be your marketing department, your sales department, your customer service department, your, business development, wherever. They all have the same goal. They all need to make sure that they're getting there. They're all going to contribute in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and probably to expand on the metaphor a little bit, it can almost be like in the hyper competitive world that we tend to be in right now, it's less like a leisurely trip to Cleveland, but more like a race at the Indy 500, right? So we're all going around in circles. We need a crew chief. We need someone to make sure that the tires are well set. We need a mechanic. And so everyone on your team needs to have their roles in place in order for us to cross the finish line. And so, to go on with the driving thing, if you have your team all set up and going in the right way, or all pulling in the same direction, you're much more likely to be successful and to win.
Yes. So in this trip, we're focused on how the marketing fits in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's talk about goals, Shell. What is the entire point of, and what's this SMART thing that we see on screen? What's the deal?
Well, these are SMART goals, and you can set a goal, but if you don't have all of these elements in the goal, you won't ever really know if you've reached it. So we like to use these SMART goals. It's something that's been around for a long time. It's nothing new. It's nothing we've made up, but they're very useful. So you need to make sure that you know what's the overall goal. What are your marketing needs? You need to put numbers on those goals. You need to analyze your current situation. And I am sorry, I have a window covering a window here all of a sudden. All right. So, and then calculate the increase, the time frame you're looking at. How much time do you have? What's your biggest challenge? You need to answer all of these questions. But again, your success in the end is going to be determined by how well you have it set up and figured out in the front end. So your goals, all of these questions that need to be asked will make your goals. The SMART stands for, of course, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So, you can set a goal of, I want to increase revenue by 50%. Well,
Mhm.
is that attainable? Is it realistic? What's your time frame around that? You want to do that in the next 6 months? Well, if your revenues right now are set at $10,000 for a year and you want to double that to $20,000 a year, that may be possible.
Mhm.
If your revenue is at 5 million a year and you want to double it to 10 million a year, then we need to really look at what's our time frame. Is it realistic and is it attainable?
Mhm.
Oh,
Perfect.
shoot, I had something really helpful to share. Oh, yes, I did. So the interesting thing to consider about goal setting as well is, operationally speaking, does your and getting back to the car, is, can your organization take the amount of success that you have? So, one of the things that I ask people all the time, Dave, is when I say, okay, well, you'd like us to do a lead generation program for you. What would you, if you had to wave a magic wand, what would you really like?
Mhm.
Well, I'd really like 20 new leads a month. Okay. So if I gave you 20 new leads a month and half of those closed, would you be able to service that amount of business?
Mhm.
And I would say, 4 times out of 10, I get crickets.
Mhm.
And so having that whole picture as it fits in is where things like attainable and realistic help. Because if you're getting people to say yes is never really the problem. Getting people to say yes and continue to say yes over an extended period of time, that's really where winning gets done.
Right. Right. And I should note, for everyone that is on as an attendee today, you all had an email from me to get you into today's event. Go ahead and send me an email if you'd like a copy of this SMART marketing goal template, and I'll be sure to send that your way. We have a different giveaway, but I just realized that it might be handy to have that SMART goal template if you need it. So go ahead and send me that note. Let's get past strategy 101 and let's start talking about how the marketing rubber hits the road, and tell us about how to target right people with a buyer's journey. What is this thing?
Well, the buyer's journey is another important step in setting your strategy. You need to know the steps that your buyer takes when they're deciding to use a service or purchase a product. So that is broken out. Dave, if you want to go to the next slide, the buyer's journey can be basically broken down into the 3 different stages of their journey, and that's attract, engage, and delight. The attract is using your expertise for that content and conversation. Your prospect is potentially not even going to know that the name of your company, that you have this service or this product available to them. But because 70% of a purchasing decision is made before you ever talk to that client, they're doing their research online, they're asking for referrals, things like that. So they know they have a problem that they want to solve. You need to be where they're at looking for that information when they're looking for that information, so that they say, oh, this company can solve my problem or can help me with my situation. I should learn more about this company. So that's where you get into all of the content creation, the social media presence, all of those things. You want to be the person out there that is the expert and provides the solution that they're looking for. Once you get their attention and have started that, they're aware of you, they're on your website, they've seen, they're following you in social media, you need to engage with them and start building that relationship. You need to provide them with insights and solutions that are just going to make their life easier. It's going to solve their problem. It's going to take out that roadblock. It's going to help them achieve that goal. that's where you start to build trust and expertise with them. Then, delight is the final stage. You've got them, they're a client, you need to keep delighting them. You need to provide an outstanding experience to these people every time that they're in contact with you, whatever platform it is, whether you're sending them an email, whether they're visiting you on the website, whether they're, following you on social media. It always needs to be an outstanding experience, and they need to walk away from that having gotten something of value that helps them. And then that in turn makes them promoters of your company. And we all know that referrals are a very important part of anyone's business strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think to put this another way is that the difference between this and a traditional sales funnel is at the end of the sale in a traditional sales funnel, the customer is not part of the process anymore. And so with the advent of so many tools to say so much at any given time about a company, what we have discovered is that this flywheel effect that Michelle described is really what successful companies have moved to say how you market to somebody and how you make them feel during the marketing stage is just as important as how you sell to them. And similarly, even after the sale, how you service that person is just as important in continuing to keep the customer happy, which will then lengthen the overall experience that they have.
Yes, and the whole flywheel versus funnel, your flywheel goes around. How does that get powered? It gets powered by your clients. So if they have that good customer experience and you've removed friction from their lives and things are going easier for them, that's great. They're happy, they're promoting. Your flywheel is also going to start spinning faster. Right. If they're running into roadblocks and not having a great experience, that's putting friction on your flywheel and it's going to slow down your growth.
For sure. Yeah. Backing up 1 second, Michelle and Trygve, one of our attendees asked, can I pick more than one goal to focus on? And I actually misread that and thought that they wanted to ask more than one question. So apologies to our anonymous attendee that asked the Q&A. But how about for business marketing goals? Can you pick one? Or can you pick more than one? Or does it have to be like one big thing and then go from there?
No, you can have several marketing goals. Again, just making sure that you're being realistic about what your marketing function has the capacity to accomplish. Just like servicing the customer after marketing gets it, making sure that there's enough people there to service the sale afterwards. You need to make sure that you have enough bandwidth to go after all of those goals at the same time.
Right, because otherwise they're not attainable.
Exactly.
Makes sense. And Shruti chimed in just now and said that what we've been talking about with the flywheel is very similar to creating your brand equity. And so, being as referable as possible by solving for the customer and continuing to come back to attract, engage, and delight those customers can be incredibly powerful. And it really becomes that word of mouth, which is what brand is really shorthand for.
Yes.
Excellent. And this is all like a process. It's a path, right? So
it is. It's a path. Again, this is not circular, but it should be. So this is showing all of the different steps and the different ways that you can get in front of those people during those steps. So during the awareness stage, it's a lot of PR, word of mouth, online advertising. Once you move into consideration, you're looking at more of the email, the pay-per-click, moving into social ads, getting people reading customer reviews, people looking at your blog, if they see you out in the media, mainstream media. Then when they're moving to their purchasing stage, they're looking at your website, or they're going to your store, or they're looking at your online store, your e-commerce presence. For retention, a lot of ways that you can hit them there is making sure that you have a robust FAQ site or page on your site section so that they can self-serve and have a lot of those questions answered up front. You know how people are, either they don't really want to talk to a person, they just want their answers served up to them on a web page. So your FAQ and your knowledge base. would help with both of those. And then after the sale, when they're a client, to get them to be advocates or brand promoters for you, you can offer promotions, again, blogging with a little bit of a different angle, making sure that you're serving your current clients also through your social networks, and providing them with some kind of a newsletter or promotional email.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
This seems like a lot. Do I have to do all of these things?
You do not have to do all of them. You don't have to do any of them if you don't want to. The more that you do, the better they're all going to work together. But there are some that are more impactful than others. So I would make sure to choose wisely when you're deciding what you can move out of.
For sure. And some of these aren't actually applicable to all businesses, right? So
Right.
Some B2B manufacturing companies might not have an e-commerce or want to put up a Shopify page on their website, but that doesn't mean that you need to force it in order to engage a complete strategy. Some are useful, some aren't useful to different businesses.
And it's really looking at who your buyer is and where they're at. So if you've done your homework, you've got your buyer's journey figured out, who your personas are, who your typical best customer would be, you need to be where they're at. So if it's not something where it's a big email push, for example, maybe you can set that newsletter aside for now. Like Dave said, not everybody's going to have an e-commerce site. Not everybody's going to have a physical store that they walk into to buy your product or service.
Right.
So making sure that you're where your prospects are is the most important.
Right. Well, and we're going to get into this in a couple of slides as well, but you also need to focus on who you're trying to reach. And so if, social networks is a button on screen here, if your audience is not on TikTok, you don't need to have a TikTok account because you're not going to reach them there anyway, right? So it really needs to be applicable to who you're trying to reach.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we get plenty of time to answer questions for folks, so that we're going to speed up our dialogue a little bit on these. Trig, I know you had something, so
I just that if you have an account and you haven't fed it for a while, like I think we find a lot of people who have X accounts who haven't posted to what used to be Twitter and is now X in a long time. That's actually not helpful. Mm-hmm. Because as people are looking at you, they're trying to see and trying to make a decision as to whether or not they should use you. So it's the equivalent of a dust bowl wandering through if they've seen that you haven't updated your account in a long time. So to Michelle's point, I think that some things you can actually actively cleave from your digital presence.
Right. And I do always advocate for grabbing accounts on social networks, but if you know you're not going to use Twitter or X, it's okay to make a post saying we do all of our social engagement on LinkedIn. Come and join us at, and link over. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So let's move ahead.
Well, a little more on the buyer's journey to help better define that. So your awareness stage, I think I hit on this earlier. Your prospect is they've got a problem and they want to solve it. And that's where you need to be. It's not so much at that point about your brand as it is about being an expert that can help them solve their problem. So once they get to the consideration stage, they've most likely done some online research, talked to some of their peers in the industry. They now clearly have defined their problem and they know what it is and they have ideas on how it can be solved. They need to find the person that's going to best help them solve that issue. So then they're in the decision stage where they've narrowed it down, where they say, oh, I've got these 3 different things I could do, one or all of these things, or go with this one person that can help me with with the solution. So that's when they get to the decision stage where they're trying to narrow that down. They've got all their options and they're trying to decide which one is the best one, is going to help them move towards their goals most quickly.
And this is where it gets fascinating too, because in a lot of marketing, especially if you're not thinking strategically enough, you're like, okay, I just need to get a whole bunch of clicks on my website. Well, that's all awareness. You actually need to have different strategies and different content for each stage of the buyer's journey if you want to have your marketing help you close more deals.
Clicks on a website is not the same thing as revenue. Clicks on a website is clicks on a website, and it's part of the story, but it's not the full story.
Exactly. And Trygve, I know this is one of your favorites, so give us.
So how this manifests its real time is the awareness stage is something like, I have a leaky pipe that needs to get fixed. That I have a problem, and I am acknowledging that I have a problem. And me, much like Dave, because I think I'm 40% more talented as a DIYer than I really think, I'm gonna go to YouTube. That's my first thing, and I'm gonna figure out, how do I fix a pipe. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also gonna look at some plumbers, and that's the consideration stage. What is my actual value in the utility in solving the problem? Can I do it myself? Should I hire somebody? Okay, hiring a plumber is a good idea, but which one should I hire? And then the last is, okay, I've identified my problem. I know that there of all the potential solutions I have, I've chosen to hire somebody. Which one do I hire? I'm going to hire Dave's Plumbing.
Mm-hmm. It's a good, strong name. I like that, Dave's Plumbing.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we have our strategy down, and I alluded to this earlier, but now we need to make sure that we're actually hitting the right person. And I'm going to step aside for a second and remind our attendees, and we keep having more folks join us, so this is super exciting today. But go ahead and ask questions as they're popping in, and we'll answer them in line. And we have a good solid 15 at the end where we're going to be doing live Q&A, and we'll actually open up mics for folks that want to ask live instead of type if they'd like to. So if you do have specific questions, pop them into the Q&A or chat us, and we'd love to keep that interaction going. But back to our regularly scheduled slide, what we need to do is focus on who this person is. So having a good persona is incredibly important. So tell me what that means.
Well, your buyer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal client. So you have to go in and define who that person is, what their wants and needs are, what their frustrations are, and then figure out how to talk to them and how it's going to be most helpful. So most companies would have, say, 3 to 5. Larger companies may have 5 to 10 buyer personas. They could be done by industry. They could be done by product line. It's unique for every situation. But if you don't know who your best buyer is, you don't know who you're going, you don't know where you should go to find them and talk to them. So like the slide says, if you're selling to everyone, then you're selling to no one. Mm-hmm. So pick your favorite customer and follow that pattern, because you'll bring in more that are similar to your favorite customer, and then you'll have a whole bunch of favorite customers.
For sure. And some examples of personas.
Yes. So this is the format that we use. There are all kinds of different templates out there on the Google. You can search for it. You can email us and we could send you a template. These are all of many versions available out there, but this is how we do it. So we like to use alliteration, makes it easier to remember your personas. So we have marketing manager Marissa. And these are just some of the things that we assign. We do the research and figure out average age range, average education, familial status, personality, wants and needs, frustrations, key questions and ideas. And this kind of defines where she's at and how she likes to be marketed to? What kind of information? If she's a, if she's a real tech person, and maybe you need to, have a podcast going to get out to her, or you need to be out on the message boards doing that kind of thing. Maybe she's 30 to 45, probably on Instagram. You might want to look into, if that's an appropriate place for her to be, or for you to be, to talk to her. LinkedIn for sure. Email, does she, as a marketing manager, she's probably just as resistant to email in her inbox as everyone else is. So how do you get her attention?
I think what's really fascinating about these, as Michelle goes through these, is a good portion of it is, if not all of it, is not all fact. It's not fact based. It's all emotional based. Mm-hmm. Because we're asking, as marketers, we're asking people to make decisions, and there's all sorts of studies done about this. People make decisions emotionally, and then they rationalize intellectually for their decision-making choices. And so what the purpose of Michelle's team's efforts is, what's so laudable about it, is that we're backing up out of the intellectual, the standard, the features, the benefits, that kind of thing, and hitting them where they're really making their decisions.
Mm-hmm. And, we often hear, well, how, this is exactly who my client is. How did you find all of this information? You do a lot of research, you do interviews, you talk to people in the industry, you talk to people that have that job title. They don't have to be a client of the company that you're working with at the time, but you do that research, and it's amazing what you can figure out.
For sure.
Michelle, I want to ask a question. Is your ideal persona, is that the person that you make the most money off of?
Not always.
Why?
Not always. Because, you make the most money off of, but are they the most profitable? So, you may make the most money off of them in terms of, straight revenue dollars generated. But then if you look at how much cost goes into supporting that account, it may not be your most profitable. There are different ways, to look at who's your best client. So if you're basing it on revenue, it may not be the person who's the best fit for your product. It may not be a good match personality wise. There are all kinds of different factors that go into that, but it's not always the client that generates the most revenue.
Right. Well, and as we look at the differences, for example, between marketing manager Marissa and sales manager Scott, marketing manager Marissa, if we're applying this to like BizzyWeb, right? So marketing manager Marissa, she probably has very different needs than a sales manager does, but the sales manager might actually be a better overall target for, earlier stages of the buyer's journey. Or actually, I should flip that. Marissa probably has earlier stages where she's responsible for doing the research, because Scott is telling her, we need more leads. Yep. And so you need to figure out who that person is. And it's also, a best practice to have at least a couple of different personas, because if you just all went for marketing manager Marissa, and Marissa doesn't have the purchase power to send that link on to management, and she doesn't have enough pull in the organization to actually win you business, then you're talking to the wrong person. So that's why it's worth having extra people in personas.
The way I think about this is to think about your calendar. And when you get in the office, the first thing in the morning, you pull up your calendar, you look at the meetings for the day. Who is that client who's going to be on your calendar for the day that you're actually excited to see?
Mm-hmm. Right on. And Shruti says, it's basically each persona is representing different market segments. Yes, and Sometimes you're representing different segments, sometimes you're representing different stages of the buyer's journey or other people that need to be involved in the purchase decision, depending on what kind of a business you are. The easiest business in the world is a retail driven business because it just leads to a click and a purchase. In a lot of B2B, you have to bring multiple people into a decision process, and each one of them has to have feedback and be bought in. So it's a much harder, much longer cycle to generate that sale. So you do need to have that.
Yes, and that's, at every level of decision making or every level of the buyer's journey, David, it's not always the decision maker that you're talking to. You may be talking to that influencer. So these aren't all going to be VPs and C levels because they may not be the person that's out there that has the problem. They may be the one that has to sign off at the end of the day as it runs up, but it may be marketing manager Marissa that you're starting with. And she's been challenged with, this goal, this is what you need to accomplish. She's looking for ways to accomplish it. She's the one who has to go through and do all the research and make the recommendations to the person who's going to sign off on it. So 2 different personas, 2 different sets of content that's needed, probably different areas that they're hanging out there on the internet. Your CEO isn't going to be out there Googling, how do I make a marketing plan?
Right.
Marissa might be.
To get back to the car analogy, both Scott and Marissa have correct and valid ways to get to Cleveland. But the goal is to figure out what's the fastest way for the entire car.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's change tracks a little bit. And I promised that we would get into full-on Q&A in 5 minutes. So let's talk about some trends that are coming up and cover, what's been new in the world of marketing and strategy and things that we should be taking care of. So as we go, Shell, I know you're going to have a lot of input on these. We'll probably pepper in as well. But what are we seeing on the horizon? And what do we want to chat through? And here's our big 3 that I know we wanted to cover.
Yes, AI in all of its different formats is the big thing this year. It can be visual, it can be content, but there's all kinds of AI tools out there that are coming out, new tools coming out every week. Chat GPT, for all of its newness, is already getting ready to release Chat GPT 5. So, it's literally every couple of weeks they're coming out with a new version of this. And then we have video. I think the latest statistic I saw was that for the 4th year running, video is the most interacted, most popular type of content.
So let's talk very briefly about some of these things that were coming through. And visual AI and ChatGPT. And ChatGPT we're kind of using as shorthand for all of the AI tools that are available. But there's lots of power and opportunity inside of artificial intelligence as a whole. There's also lots of risk, especially right now, because we haven't figured out what the intellectual property ramifications are for many of these things. For example, Photoshop, or the folks that came out with Photoshop, Adobe, created this amazing new tool that lets you just expand backgrounds on pictures or make Mima happier, and it'll actually change the image to turn up the corners of her mouth or whatever, right? The problem with that, and as Adobe is underscoring in the fine print, none of that is copyrightable yet. And Adobe is asserting ownership over everything generated with their AI, which is a real big problem if you want to use any of that information in your sales or in your marketing. And
but it's almost entirely for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, it's just playing around. And
there's no usefulness of it to the small business owner.
Exactly right. And so if you're looking to get started on these, you can't go to Midjourney and pop in imagery and be guaranteed that you're not going to have a problem with licensing somewhere down the line. So worthy of playing, worthy of trying. great for brainstorming. And the same thing goes for ChatGPT and all of the text-based things, but probably not a replacement for good old-fashioned good thinking. And the other problem that we know we have with ChatGPT in particular is a lot of times if you ask ChatGPT for something like, give me a book report on XYZ, it'll straight up just make up answers based on other things that it knows. So it'll start, if you ask, give me a recap of Romeo and Juliet, it might wind up saying, Romeo is this dude in the Bronx, and Juliet is this other person, and they really had a disagreement about switchblades or whatever, because it's mixing up all of this stuff. There's no guarantee that it's actually true. So it gets very, very complicated very fast.
Yeah, so the AI, it's interesting. It has its uses. It can certainly be used, during the initial stages of planning. You can use it. Obviously, we used it in this presentation. I said earlier, the image would show up again. We generated that using visual AI, and here are some of the different versions that it came up with. But to Dave's point, it's a starting point. It's a tool to use. It is efficient, but it is not the end all and be all. It is not your final product. It still needs that human touch to make sure that everything is accurate, and that it's, hitting the message that you're trying to send.
Right. And there's a great tool inside of a ChatGPT enabled tool called ChatSpot that is free and available and integrates very tightly with HubSpot, where you can actually create blog posts or marketing emails or outlines of those things or shorten things. And it all works inside of your CRM and inside of your website tool if you use HubSpot for that. So give ChatSpot a shot. It's just chatspot.ai, and very worthwhile of tinkering with.
Well, this is something that I think is unique to HubSpot. So if you are a HubSpot user, this is absolutely a really fun tool that can help make your life quicker. But there are a number of different sort of predictive AI things. We at BizzyWeb, we're a Gmail email platform, and Gmail for a long time has had sort of this predictive modeling that if you start typing, it'll sort of guess what the answer is. You can just click it and then it'll automatically fill in. And Michelle, I know that there's a lot of different tools like that you know of. What and I know HubSpot even has one. What's the one that you use?
Well, inside HubSpot, I know you guys use ChatSpot a lot. They have another version of this inside there called Content Assistant. And that's what we use for a lot of the writing prompts. It's very helpful also in the SEO section. ChatSpot itself is great for helping you get around HubSpot and figure out how to do things within the HubSpot portal. But we use the Content Assistant quite a bit there too. And it's great, especially like social media posts where you just need some short language around something. It's a great time saver to go in there and use those for some prompts and for generating ideas.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's do the home stretch before we get into the Q&A, and let's talk a little bit about video marketing and then strategic planning.
Yeah, as I said earlier, this is, I think, the 4th year in a row that video has been one of the top trends in marketing. Obviously not going anywhere. It's becoming more and more prevalent in social media and on websites. So if you don't have video marketing in your mix, it may be something that you want to look at. It can be something as simple as a cell phone video that you take yourself. It doesn't have to be a professionally staged and produced 30-minute video. The corporate videos of yesteryear are pretty much, they're down at the bottom. So your explainer videos, your social media videos, presentation videos, automating something like this presentation, putting a voice track over it. So there are lots of different video approaches, but it works. People watch videos. It's all there is to it. So
excellent. So let's go into strategic planning. And I know that we have a few slides left. I do want to let this time for Q&A. So for all of our attendees, there are 3 ways that you can supply questions. You can post in Q&A, you can post in chat, or if you want to ask your question live, if you're not a big typer, go ahead and raise your hands inside of the tool, and we'll turn on your microphone. So all 3 of those are up. So let's go through strategic planning while folks pepper up questions, and then we do have a slide towards the end here where we have your questions that we'll make sure to attack. So super high level as we go through strategic planning. Shell, what should we go through on these?
Well, actually, if you want to skip to the next slide, because I think the next one, and then we'll go back. I think you should start with planning your SEO. So you need to do the research. There's a lot of free tools out there. We like Answer the Public. There's a great SEO tool with the pillar and the subtopics right inside of HubSpot if you're a HubSpot user. But really planning your SEO, figuring out what it is that your buyer personas are searching on, what's the language that they're using to find you. And once you have those, your keywords and kind of your topics determined, then you go into your content planning. So, which was the previous slide. So I think you need to do the SEO first. It kind of gives you your roadmap, and then your content you will use to fill in that roadmap. And when you do that, especially if you use like a pillar and spokes approach to that, you'll have all of your subtopics, and you'll see where your short content, where you need to focus on developing more content so that you're answering those questions online.
Right on.
Yeah.
So focus on your customer, understand how they're going to find you, and that's SEO. And then you work on content, and then you work on social media, and then you work on email. And then you go into how much money should I allocate to this, which is a very good question that we just got from Adina. Which is a better investment, Google Ads or Facebook ads? And as far as a budget, what % of your annual revenue should marketing be?
Well, Adina, 2 great questions. Which is the better investment, Google Ads or Facebook ads? It depends on where your buyer's at. So if your buyer's not on Facebook, you can spend all the money, you can blow your whole budget on Facebook. But if that's not where your buyer is hanging out, if they're over on TikTok, it's a waste of money. Mm-hmm. So it really all depends on who your buyer is and figuring out where they're at and where they're looking. Are they searching? Are they doing, organic search? Are they hanging out in LinkedIn? Are they, conferring with their industry peers on LinkedIn? So they're both an investment, and how much that investment pays off depends on how much, of that pre-planning that you've done in your strategy.
Right. And then we can take the percentage of annual revenue question. And the general rule of thumb is 10% of your revenue should be dedicated to marketing. For super small businesses, that's super easy. For $1 billion company to dedicate $100 million to marketing, I would love that if all of our clients, but you really have to dedicate something is the important part. And what we like doing with our clients is dedicating some budget and making sure that we are improving and generating revenue equal to or greater than what we're doing. That's the absolute litmus test, in my opinion. So I hope that helped, Adina. Thank you. We have questions from Shruti and an anonymous attendee that I'd love to get to for a second. Shruti has the question: any quick cell phone video making software that you'd recommend to be used professionally? One thing that I like a lot is just the built-in editor in YouTube. So you'll load up video on your phone to YouTube, and then you can edit it there. Tools like CapCut or Canva are very easy to use and very approachable and generate very, very good content. The entire Adobe suite is very good. And there's actually a very nice video production and editing tool that you can use right from your phone. I would probably caution you to try not to keep everything inside the phone or inside of your mobile device, because you're just limited on that small screen real estate. Jenna says if you have an iPhone, iMovie is free. And I know that we use iMovie for a bunch of our stuff, but we probably do most of our editing on a PC because it's just easier to do those cuts and to add
on a desktop. We're not heathens.
on a desktop. Yeah,
we use Apple products.
right, exactly.
I want to, Shruti, I think if you're going to invest and do cell phone videos, the one thing that I'd recommend that you absolutely do is go on Amazon and spend about $60 to $75 and get a cell phone tripod and get a cell phone gimbal. And a gimbal is a camera, it's camera equipment, but it's made for the cell phone that has a gyroscope in it that will hold the phone steady. So no matter how good you are, you're always going to have a little bit of shake in your hands as you're doing the videos, but investing in a gimbal will pay quickly and over and over and over.
Well, and another tech geek thing, absolutely get a lavalier microphone. If you have any dialogue, it's $7 on Amazon or wherever, something right on your collar or right on your shirt that you can put in. If you hear my voice, the further I get away from my microphone, the more echoey the audio gets. And if I come right in and I bring it right in close, all of that echo goes away and the video or in the audio quality goes way up. That is absolutely one of the hallmarks of good video, is having good audio. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And likewise, lighting, and a $5 ring light could do a massive amount, ring, like a circle light that you would put your camera inside of, can have a massive difference in developing that audio or that video.
Just a little ring light.
Just a little ringy. Yeah. Super easy. And that one's battery powered and it's super, super cool. Anonymous attendee had a really good question that I'd love to connect with next before we get to our full list. But how do I decide if I should keep marketing in-house or hire an agency?
Oh, I can go off forever on this. And so I think number one, the absolute important thing is making sure you actually have specific goals. If you're going to not be part of the organization, or as we've talked about, the investment, you need to give that agency or even that person specific marching orders. This is what I expect from this position. This is what I expect from this investment. And you need to hold whoever is doing that as accountable as if you would have an employee. So at BizzyWeb, we absolutely insist with our clients that you meet with us once a month, and we're going to tell you everything that went well and everything that didn't go well. And we're also going to come to you with ideas on how for improvement, just as if we were sitting down the hall. And if you don't have somebody who will do that or actually explain the things, then you shouldn't hire an agency. Secondly, and most importantly, is they need to be focused on your business goal. Because again, if we're talking about people in the car, you're inviting an agency to be in the car with you. And so they need to all be helping to get to the purpose. And so sometimes we see agencies who say, hey, I increased your website traffic from 800 to 900. Isn't that great? Well, kind of, but at the end of the day, the next question is, are we in Cleveland? Or are we on our way to Cleveland? They're like, no, look how great I did over here. That's not enough.
Right.
So if you have the opportunity, you need to feel comfortable that whoever you hire to do the work will help you achieve your goals. And if you find the right group of people, then whether or not they're an agency or not, I don't think matters as much as can they help you achieve your goals.
Right. And it's also important to consider the costs involved in-house, because if you hire an in-house person, you're taking care of their training, you're taking care of the actual ad dollars. A lot of times you are taking care of their vacation time, their desk, their office, their benefits, taxes. Whereas if you hire an agency, a lot of times that's much less expensive because you get access to all of the top talent in that agency at a level that is removed from all of the taxes and all of the other things that come in with hiring a person. And then a lot of times you'll train someone in-house and that person might move on. If you have an agency, that agency is not going to move on unless you decide that the agency isn't working for you. And so you have more security, better talent, and better results, all at a cheaper price. So, that's kind of our value prop, right? So I don't want this to be a self-serving thing, other than to say, don't discount agencies because you've been burned before. There's always a good model to get more for your money. And if you need to be very budget conscious, a lot of times an agency is a perfect solution for that.
Well, and another
ahead,
consideration too is, where are your strengths? I mean, if you're a marketing department of one,
Right.
You probably don't have, the skill sets that go across everything. You probably don't know video production and, print advertising and event marketing and all of those different things. So be honest with yourself about where your strengths are and where they're not. And if you have something that needs to be done to move the needle and it's not an area of strength, then look at outsourcing it. Or if it's justified, getting another person in to help you with the marketing that does have that skill set.
Right on. So in our last minutes here, and man, this went super, super fast. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Trygve, for all of this. Thanks to our attendees. Let's go like rapid fire through these last questions, and we can hang on longer if folks have specific questions they'd like to get answered. But
the
Michelle,
lightning round.
Lightning round. Here we go. What's the biggest trend that we should be aware of in 2024?
You want me to answer this?
Sure. Well, we're just
You're the
gonna start out.
AI.
I agree. I think that's a huge thing.
Absolutely. And not just the usage, but the legalities.
Yeah. Being super careful on that is important. Is there a difference in the big trends between 2024 and now? Is AI our biggest thing right now too?
Absolutely.
And certainly the most buzzworthy.
The other thing that is trending right now is the universal analytics to Google Analytics 4 and the differences that'll make, and figuring out, how that algorithm has changed. And it's all more about quality content and search intent more than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do I put into a marketing budget?
Well, you need to have your goals and objectives in there. You need to have your, very clearly defined SMART goals, and then break it down into the, how am I going to accomplish this? So your tactics, your timelines, your who's responsible. And then of course, always the big bottom line, what's it going to cost?
Right. And just kind of
extension from that is, what's the return on my investment going to be?
Right. Exactly. So the shorthand answer is, of course, when you're talking about actual dollars, it's going to be different based on your needs. Some folks might need more pay-per-click. Some folks might need more focus on search engine optimization or email, but you'll know based on who you're trying to reach what you need to build into your budget by what they do. And what do I do about X? I'm going to take this as X as in Twitter, because that came in, or because this came in very recently. We're paying attention to Twitter X, but I would treat it like a thing that you're not sure is going to explode or not. Cautiously optimistic. We're not encouraging any of our clients to put massive marketing budgets into Twitter advertising. It's just unclear as to what the value prop is for reaching a massive amount of people, and if it's still going to work. I mean, Threads is out there now. There's all of those other open source chat things that are kind of trying to bubble to the surface. I think Threads has probably the best potential to be a player in text-based messaging, but it's really, you got to play with it and just be careful.
I think if we were to consider X a stock, I think the smart move right now is a hold. So it means don't buy into it, don't sell. If you're not already in it, don't buy it. If you are into it, don't necessarily sell, but keep an eye on it.
Right. And Jenna, let everyone know that we do have a webinar on our YouTube channel with Jenny and Liz on SEO about Google Analytics 4. and what you need to know and what to do, which was incredibly insightful. So go to youtube.com/BizzyWeb. It's like the most recent, it's two videos ago. So it's from 2 months ago, but it's all perfect content for that. Michelle, how do I make a marketing calendar?
Well, no need to recreate the wheel. Google marketing calendar and you'll have more options than you know what to do with. It's because it all depends on what it is that you're trying to track on that. Are you
Right.
just looking at a place where you're going to put the dates when everything's published, or do you need to, track assignments? Do you need to track links? Do you need to track budget? So there are a ton of free marketing calendars on the internet.
Bingo. What type of testing should we do to make sure our marketing is working?
Well, that's again, all in the setup. When you're setting your goals, when you have any kind of a tactic, you need to determine upfront how you're going to test it. What are the KPIs? How are you going to measure it? So, the easy answer is A/B testing, which the most general format is put it out there with, 2 different subject lines or whatever it is, put 2 different social posts with the same piece of content attached, see which one does better. So there's all different kinds of testing. It all depends on the tactic and what the goal that you're trying to accomplish.
Right. And HubSpot makes both of those things easy. I mean, marketing calendars, you just look at the marketing calendar in HubSpot and it shows you everything you're doing. And A/B testing, there's a built-in tool in every email and every social post. You can just A/B test the heck out of it for all of that. Shruti asks, do you have any templates for budget planning?
Budget. Oh, geez.
I know that we do have a planner from HubSpot that we can make available. Shruti, just give me an email and I'll be sure to send that your way.
Yes.
Because I have it available, but I don't have it at the top of my nog. If you actually Google HubSpot marketing budget tool, I think will get you to the right place. But we can also, I'd be happy to send you the Google Sheets that will help you build that out, but that'll give you everything that you need inside of that. And then finally, I think this is a good one to leave on. I know folks are already dropping off because we're past time and I apologize for that, but how do you best instruct people that are getting started with digital?
It's all in the planning. So make sure that you've got a good solid plan, do your research before you start doing anything. And then it's all about, putting it out there, testing it and amplifying what works and letting go of what's not working.
Got it.
I would say have a contact database, and if you have to choose something, start with email marketing.
Yeah, that's easy. That's super easy. Cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention today. If you'd like more, check out our website at BizzyWeb.com/website design for a website grader to see if you're actually hitting your mark. We also have an upcoming webinar. Our next month's webinar
Is not me.
is not Michelle, so you're missing out on that one. But at BizzyWeb.com/events, the next
marketing
coming up on September 13th is Get Leads That Matter with Persona Marketing. So if you're interested in your personas and dialing them up and making sure that they're actually hitting what you want, we're going to have our persona experts online. We're going to give you a high-level overview on how to reach the right people using your personas. So thanks everybody for your time and attention. I hope this was worth your time as it was fun for us. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks again, and send me an email if you'd like that content.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.